Hey everyone, my name is Federo. As an introductory video to my channel, I'm gonna give my thoughts on the word crazy, specifically how it's used when describing members of the radical left. When you call someone crazy, you're denying them agency. You're effectively reducing their thoughts, words, and actions to random outbursts that they have no control over and cannot be traced back to any source. The crazy person is not responsible for their choices and can't be held morally culpable for said choices. If it can't be traced, the source of so-called craziness can never be addressed. I think this is an incredibly lazy and careless approach to civil discourse. It victimizes your opponents and distracts you from addressing the root of the problems with their arguments. Now, how does this relate to the radical left? You've probably heard things like privilege theory, social justice, classism, etc. on more than one occasion from them. And the reason for that is that all of these theories, buzzwords, and identitarian groups revolve around one thing: power. In the minds of the radical leftist types, there are only two groups an individual can ever belong to: the oppressor class or the oppressed class. It logically follows then that the only way to not be oppressed is to be an oppressor. Oppression doesn't have to come exclusively from government institutions. As Merriam-Webster states, to oppress can also be to burden spiritually or mentally or weigh heavily upon. This is the heart and soul of the outrage mobs you see on social media, on late-night talk shows, and at protests. Their purpose is to strip you of your self-esteem and emotionally bludgeon you, rendering you a lifeless husk devoid of power, specifically your power to resist their relentless calumny. However, once the oppressor has been reduced to the oppressed, the former oppressed are now the oppressors. This is why you'll see the outrage mobs typically turn on a dime against celebrities and activists and politicians who loyally told the line of their ideology. When they rally the mob behind them, their power by proxy ironically makes them the new target of the mob. The very support of the mob is the harbinger of the ideologue's inevitable demise. Like a group of piranhas, they devour you to the bone at the slightest drop of blood. Every individual in the mob believes if they're patient enough, they will become the mob leader and somehow retain that power without being overthrown, like everyone before them. The result of such naivete is always the same, and will repeat itself so long as ideologues pursue power for power's sake. You have to understand, the laymen with full-time jobs and families to take care of get most of their news from mainstream sources like CNN or Fox. This is why they call the radical leftists crazy. They can't fathom the complexity of far-left ideology from snippets of news segments that scratch the surface of, or outright omit the radical left's goals. They can't spend hours listening to extended videos from the likes of Sargon of Akkad, Steven Crowder, and others. This is why it frustrates me when alternative media figures who've been down the rabbit hole of social justice and censorship and the like use the term crazy to describe the radical left. It does a disservice to the people we hope to reach and to ourselves when we cannot speak about our opponents in plain, honest terms and explicitly dissect their beliefs and behaviors. Just because you initially perceive someone to be unreasonable does not mean they aren't using reason. You just aren't looking hard enough. Their actions will tell you all you need to know, but only if you abandon the naive notion that only a madman would act in such ways. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you like this content, please subscribe to me on YouTube, Minds, BitChute, and if you're feeling generous, you can always leave a donation on my Subscribe Star, which I'll put a link to in the description. Thanks, everyone.